We live in a world of beginnings and endings, so we assume God must have one too. But what if I told you that before doesn't exist where God lives? If someone created God, then that someone would be the real God. In this video, we're going beyond time and space to face the question people whisper, debate, and sometimes avoid. This is the biblical reality of the Alpha and the Omega. You've probably thought it at some point. Who made God? It feels logical because everything you see runs on cause and effect. Every house has a builder. Every child has parents. Every story has a starting point. So your mind naturally searches for the origin of God the same way it searches for the start of the universe. But what if that rule only applies to things that actually begin? Here's where everything shifts. If God is the uncreated creator, then he isn't part of the timeline. You are. He doesn't exist inside space-time, waiting for a cause. He's the reason time and space exist at all. That's what self-existence really means. No beginning, no dependency, no origin outside himself. And once you see that, the real question isn't who made God. It's whether you've been measuring an eternal God with a temporary ruler. The hidden assumption behind who made God. You don't usually notice it, but the question of who made God carries a hidden assumption. It quietly assumes that absolutely everything must have a cause. But that's not what causality actually claims. Causality applies to things that begin to exist within space-time. And that small detail reshapes the entire conversation about the existence of God. Think about it this way. Every movie you watch has a first scene. But the screen didn't begin when the movie started. In the same way, the universe may have a beginning, but that doesn't mean an eternal God does. If something created God, that something would have to be greater, deeper, more ultimate. And suddenly, you're not answering the question. You're just moving it one step back. This is where the idea of the uncreated creator stops sounding abstract and starts making sense. Instead of an endless chain of what caused that, and then what caused that, you arrive at a first cause that doesn't need an origin of God behind it. Not as a trick, not as a shortcut, but because something must exist by its own self-existence. And if that's true, then maybe the real issue isn't who made God, but whether you're thinking about the divine nature the right way. If everything needs a cause, does God? You've heard it before. Everything needs a cause. It sounds airtight, almost undeniable. But pause for a second. Does everything really need a cause? Or does everything that begins need a cause? That small shift is where faith and logic finally stop arguing and start making sense together. If absolutely everything needed something before it, you'd end up with a chain that never actually starts. Like dominoes falling backward forever, but no first domino to tip the rest. And without a beginning point, nothing would be falling right now. In the same way, if there were no first cause, nothing would exist. Not the universe, not you, not even this question. That's why the idea of an uncreated creator isn't just religious language. It's about the foundation of reality itself. And here's something deeply comforting. Right now, this message could be reaching you at exactly the right moment. Sunrise in one nation, late night in another, different languages, different lives, yet one shared hunger to understand the eternal God beyond space-time. Take a moment and comment which country you're watching from and what time it is there. It's beautiful. to see how people across the world are thinking about the same spiritual truth at the same time. If this speaks to you, let it reflect outward, engage with it, stay connected, and subscribe so we can continue exploring the sovereignty of God and the deeper meaning behind the existence of God together. Because once you realize something must stand outside the chain of causality, the question slowly shifts from who made God to what that eternal source means for your life. Beyond time, why before God is the wrong question. When you ask who made God, you're automatically placing him inside time. You're imagining a before and an after, like chapters in a book. But time itself is part of creation. It's woven into space-time. If he is eternal, then he doesn't move along a timeline the way you do. He is the Alpha and the Omega, not a character trapped between moments. Think about it this way. Fish don't experience life outside water. In the same way, you don't experience existence outside time. So your mind naturally projects time onto the divine nature. But asking what happened before God is like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question feels deep until you realize it assumes something that doesn't exist. And this is where everything becomes personal. If he exists beyond time, then his sovereignty isn't limited by past, present, or future. His attributes, wisdom, power, self-existence, aren't evolving or improving. They simply are, grounded in infinity itself. And once you see that, you realize the origin of God was never the mystery. Your perspective was. Now you see it differently. The question of who made God only makes sense if God is part of creation. But if he is the uncreated creator, the one everything else depends on, then the rules of space-time simply don't apply to him. There isn't some hidden backstory about the origin of God waiting to be uncovered. There is self-existence, steady, independent, eternal. And that realization changes more than a debate. If an eternal source stands behind reality, then your life isn't a random spark in an endless universe. The existence of God means meaning isn't something you invent to cope. It's something woven into the fabric of being. Sovereignty isn't harsh control. It's the quiet assurance that nothing is outside his reach. Faith and logic stop pulling in opposite directions and start pointing to the same spiritual truth. So the question was never really who made God. The deeper shift is learning to see the divine nature without shrinking it to human limits. When you stop measuring the eternal God by clocks and calendars, something settles inside you. Reality feels less accidental, less unstable, less temporary. And the mystery that once felt unsettling becomes the very thing that grounds you.